It is 9:49 right now. We are streaming live at watchv103.com. In the studio with us this morning, we have CEO of your Atlanta Hawks, Mr. Steve Koonin, who said he would be here, and he's here. I want to first of all start off by saying, before we get into the news of the weekend and of the day, to say thank you for I challenged you in the Ice Bucket Challenge, and I challenged you because I knew that you would participate. Over $30 million have been raised for ALS right now. So I wanted to first of all say thank you for participating in that, Steve. Okay, now your mic is on.
Okay. Thank you for inviting me, Ryan. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you very much. We're getting, tweets and people are commenting on Facebook about what's going on with our team. I guess the first question I want to ask you, Steve, is, what is the state of the organization after the statements of Danny Ferry and, of course, of Bruce Levinson in this email? What's the state of the franchise right now?
Well, it's fractured. I'll break it into a few categories. The employees are devastated. I met with them yesterday morning. I laid out everything that's happened. Full transparency. But let me talk about the spirit of the employees. Sunday night, I met a reporter at our offices from the AJC to get the story out. I walked in our offices, and the way companies save money is they cut power in an office on the weekend. It's 100-something degrees. And if you're watching, I've swallowed more than one donut. I walk into the office, and it is so hot, I can't think and I can't concentrate.
Right.
So I walked down the hall, and there was a young woman who's in group sales, 7 o'clock at night, on the night that her owner's remarks that are so hurtful and damaging were put out. This woman was sitting there preparing for the week to make sure that she could handle her customers. And I told that story, and it brought a tear to my eye in front of my staff, because our staff is united. Our staff are made up of fantastic people. Moving to the players, it's very hard for the players. The word team's overused. A team is a group of people coming together, forming a bond, common goals. And the players can't trust management because management's betrayed them. You go to ownership, obviously there's dissension in the ranks of ownership. And then you go to the most important constituent, which is our community. And they're angry, they're embarrassed. They don't want to be called from friends in other cities about you, the Hawks, your town. What's wrong with you people? I put a note out to all season ticket holders on Sunday, and when something like, I've never been through anything like this in my life, but when something like this happens, you get inundated with all the corporate speak and all the right things to do and all the PR things to do. But I was able to add my email onto my message, and I said, please write me. And I probably now have heard from over 500 fans, and for the last 2 nights, I've stayed up till 4 in the morning returning everyone. And I'm not saying poor, pitiful me.
Right.
By any means. I signed up to try to bring a winning organization to Atlanta just a few months ago, and we certainly haven't come close to achieving that goal. But the pain that these people, black, white, Atlantans, transplants, are feeling it's overwhelming. And I've responded to everybody but one woman. She wrote me probably a 7-page email. She was an African-American woman in law enforcement, in the military, doesn't have a lot of money, saved her money to be a season ticket holder. And this was her joy in life. She didn't have kids, went to the games. It was her community. And now her community has been devastated. It's a personal devastation. And I haven't written her back, so I don't know what to say. To some people, it's a sports team. To some
Right.
people, it's a bunch of rich guys fighting. But to this one woman, this was literally her heart and soul. And I don't know what to say. I'll probably ask her for her phone number because I don't think I could ever put into words, into writing, something that would be credible, something that would be kind. And I wrote a lot of people. I've guaranteed, anybody wants their money back can have their money back. That's not an issue, guaranteed. I've written a lot of people and say, we're not moving to Seattle. Take that off the table.
Right.
I've written a lot of people and tell them, no, you can't buy the team.
Right.
You know, it's funny. A lot of people want to buy shares in the team. They want to invest in Atlanta. And that's great. Unfortunately, it's just not the way
How
the
it works.
mechanism works.
Right.
And I wrote a lot of people and said, give the new management a second chance. So my message today is I can't change the past. We can't change the past. Obviously, there are significant problems. And when I was with you last time, I talked about the future. And I talked about having the future be bright. I still believe that. But we got to earn people's trust back, and that's a step at a time. And I'm trying to find the time to communicate with the community,
Right.
to do the legal obligations that I have, to follow the legal obligations that I have, and to come up with a plan. And it's not going to be overnight. There's no hidden box that has the answers to this. There's no playbook there. And so I'm going to do it by instinct and by listening and by talking to community leaders and to hopefully get a second chance to prove that the players shouldn't be punished here. People should come to the games. The players shouldn't be punished. I can assure you profits are not going to be our motive, but I think it's really important that these men who are of great character who did nothing, they should not be punished in this.
What happened yesterday with our GM, Danny Ferry, and these comments about Luol Deng, your comments about it, you said at the meeting in early June, GM Danny Ferry accidentally read the offending remark from Deng's report aloud instead of editing it. He said the comment. A lot of people are taking exception to that, saying if everybody on the call in like mine, because if it was said that a person has some African in them and then it's explained that, and you said yourself with your own words, he insulted an entire race of people, entire continent, basically. And you said he's been disciplined, but you haven't revealed what that is. But it's between you and Danny. Where is that now? Is that still going to be the same? Because now that it's national news, it's on everything. Do you ever feel like you will have to reveal what that is? Even though Mr. Ferry has made he's released his own statement saying he was insensitive and he apologizes. But in light of things that are going on in other, leagues with the NFL and Ray Rice and other things, where people say, well, we discipline them. But do you ever think you're going to have to say what it is, or is that just going to be?
Well, I'm not saying it for a reason. I made a choice.
Okay.
And so I'm accountable for my choices. And Ray Rice is a great parallel. So when this came up, I hadn't even officially joined the organization. When that letter that was leaked last night came out, Bruce Levinson, the team attorneys, reported it to the NBA. The Washington owners and the Atlanta owners got into a room and agreed to have Alston and Bird, leading law firm, Bernard Taylor, was assigned and agreed to do a thorough investigation. And that's the key word, is thorough investigation. Alston and Bird did 19 interviews. They went through 24,000 documents. They went through every single email Danny Ferry's ever sent or received as an Atlanta Hawk. And they focused on this subject because that's what was raised, the terminology, the language he used, the slur that was used. And they gave me back a report and a recommendation. That termination, that suspension, that fines, that this, that were specific. It was in there. There was a recommendation from Alston and Bird. And I exceeded that recommendation in the punishment. And if I release it, it's going to create a debate that some people will think I'm way too harsh, and some people will think I'm not harsh enough. The parallel to Ray Rice is he was punished before everything was in. Mm-hmm. And yesterday, the most explosive piece of evidence came. So until Sunday morning, Ryan, you know what my job was. I wasn't in charge of this investigation. It wasn't my investigation, and I wasn't running the team.
Right.
I was the CEO, but there were owners in place running the team. And so one of my first acts was to find out what the recommendation was. And my decision has been that I'm going to keep that private because I just feel that it's the right thing to do, because otherwise it's going to be one way or the other. So
I think to me that I'm perplexed. I am saddened. I contemplate a lot of things, and you know, and I think the city knows that I work games on my birthday. I work games on wedding anniversaries. I've altered and used my calendar around Hawks games to make sure that I could be back in time for the game, even sometimes as to saying, hey, guys, we can't go on a Christmas break this year, or we can't go on something like that this year because of the team. Because it is, before I worked for the team, I was a season ticket holder. And so to me, this is not Donald Sterling, because I don't know that guy. But I know Bruce, and I think that we have a good relationship. I know Danny, and I think that we have a good relationship as well. But everybody always asks me in the offseason, what are your Hawks going to do? What are your Hawks going to do? Like, we're associated, we're joined at the hip. And so to have to conduct this interview with you, I'm just as emotional as you are about it, because if someone had asked me or would have told me that this was going to come out about any NBA team, I would have had my Hawks at the bottom. Do you feel what I'm saying?
Not only do I feel it, I can relate to it. 100 days ago, I was working at Turner Broadcasting, making what I thought were pretty good TV shows, and working with a fantastic group of people. And I was offered this opportunity, and I took it. Again, this isn't about me. I'm not asking for sympathy. I took it because I actually thought that this would be good for the city. I took a significant financial cut to do this because I wanted to do something that would be, quite frankly, a boyhood dream. And I wanted it to be something great for the city, something that my kids who love going to Hawks games would be proud of their dad. My wife, who sat in the stands with me, she was so pregnant she could barely move, but she jumped to her feet when we played the Celtics in the 80s. So I totally understand what you're talking about, because it's part of your brand, it's part of our brand, but more important, it's part of our DNA.
Right.
And our DNA, this isn't what this city's about. This has been a divided city. Sports should unite. Sports shouldn't divide. And again, I'm trying to do the best I can. I'm going to make mistakes. But I was a season ticket holder. I've been a season ticket holder almost 30 years. And so I wanted to improve things. And I thought there was a tremendous amount that needed to be improved. I brought in the Disney Institute to train all the people in the arena because I thought it was a police state. I wanted people I want to be famous for our Southern hospitality. We should be the friendliest place to go. Whether we win or lose the game, that's sport. But it should be the friendliest place, the friendliest people, and a lot of fun. And so I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't relate to it more because they are our Atlanta Hawks. And what we have to do is get people in Atlanta to understand that we acted swiftly. We don't have that owner. The players did not do this. But when the season tips off, we play for the players. Don't cheer for the owners. Come cheer for the players.
Right. Steve Koonin joins us right now from your Atlanta Hawks, the CEO. And we're talking about, things that have come up in the past couple of days with the Hawks and the franchise, which are very damaging to the franchise, hurtful things said. Even in your own words, there have been mistakes made here, hurtful things said here, ignorant pieces. That's very strong when you say ignorant pieces about things that, what is it to you that is most disturbing about all of this?
By far the most disturbing thing is the disparagement of African-American fans. I'm a fact-based guy. I'm a research guy. When I got here to the Hawks, I had the former head of research from Turner come join me and locked him in a cube and gave him reams and reams of data and said, help me understand where the passion lies. Who's our fan? And in our data, we learned by far African-Americans are huge fans of the NBA, but they're not huge fans of the Hawks. Huge fans of the NBA. We're one of the top 5 TV cities on the NBA in the country. You and I talked about that at lunch.
We did.
There is tremendous passion for the NBA, but that doesn't mean because you live in Atlanta or because you're African-American and love the NBA, it's not a default to the Hawks.
Right.
And in the Caucasian community, they don't really love basketball as much, but they're more, Hawks are my favorite NBA team, hometown. And so the targets that we were going to, the people we've been marketing to, the success the team has is bringing in a very significant African-American audience.
Right.
That's where the marketing is. That's where the passion is. And so these remarks basically said, the job's been done well in bringing in this audience, and you had an owner who didn't appreciate the audience. This is Atlanta. This is who lives in Atlanta. This is who cares about basketball in Atlanta. This is who's paid their money to come to the game. And they're not good enough? I'll never recover from that. Sorry. I didn't mean to yell.
No. There are those, when they watch this on television, who say, because of what Donald Sterling did, because of what he and his wife were able to accomplish financially out of this, they can't get behind the fact of a email from 2 years ago being self-reported by the person who wrote the email. And some are saying, this is just a business decision. Why would you fall on your own sword? And unless you're saying, well, I can't market this, I can't make any money out of it. Can you dispel that and say whether or not you believe that's what happened, or was it because of the investigation that this was uncovered? Because I have said, and correct me if I'm wrong, that if there is no investigation, then the email never gets uncovered. So it's not like all of a sudden somebody says, oh, yeah, I did something to you 2 years ago, and I want to tell you about it right now.
Yeah, I mean, that makes no sense. Nobody does that. No, nobody says, I feel like turning myself in. So let me clarify 2 things. When the letter that's been circulated, the Guerin letter, was raised, immediately we reported to the league that this had been an issue, and the 2 ownership groups, the Guerins and the Levison group, agreed to hire Alston and Bird, do an investigation, let the facts fall where they may.
Right.
In that investigation, the 2-year-old letter. Let me explain what self-reporting means, because my daughter asked me that question. I've been in this blur, and I didn't think. Bruce didn't pick up the phone and go, I'm turning myself in.
Right.
We did. The team, the attorney, the management of the team. We turned it in. Did Bruce have knowledge? Unequivocally, he did. We did self-report, but it's not a literal thing.
Right.
It did not say he himself reported. The team self-reported. He was the owner of the team at the time. So yes, it is true that self-reported, but it wasn't guilty conscience 2 years later. It came out as part of a very, very thorough
When
investigation.
Alston and Bird is going through all of these documents.
Exactly. They found it. All you have to do is hit keyword black.
Wow.
Meaning when they search.
Right. I get that.
Page after page after page. So it wasn't buried somewhere. It didn't take forensic, emailologist, if there was such a word.
Right.
It was there. And if it wasn't an investigation, we'd probably be sitting here talking about training camp opening or some of the, rock and roll in the upper bowl with Ryan Cameron. That's what we'd be talking about.
Right.
So I understand where people are suspicious. Nobody would go through that pain of having this happen to their good name for any amount of money. This was all because I believe in every fiber of my being, we did the right thing. We hired independent people. We let the chips fall where they may. And Sunday afternoon was the first time I even heard the results of this because I was a witness in it. Mm-hmm. And the only reason I was a witness is just because I had joined at the CEO level and Alston Bird was so thorough in investigating this issue.
Right.
Because Michael Guerin's letter raised the objection on Danny Ferry on this issue. And this was the issue that was investigated.
Wrapping up here with CEO Steve Koonin from your Atlanta Hawks, the fan who is listening right now, who may have been able to get, okay, we got Bruce, he's done. That's gone. But now the GM repeating the statements of a scout about free agency will still be around. What do we say to the fan who is listening right now, who is a season ticket holder, who is excited about whatever the team may bring to the court in a couple of months here? What do you say to that person who feels very disparaged about all of this and saying, yeah, but? What do you say?
Well, no marketing speak. I'm saying I'd like you to find it in your heart to forgive. I'd like you to come support the players. I certainly understand if you don't, but I think it's very hard to say that anybody's lived a life without making a mistake. And mistakes are made, and there's punishment for mistakes, and the punishment has to be appropriate to the crime. And I think the people who are calling into question Bruce Levinson and Danny Ferry, they're being punished every minute of every day right now because of what they've done and what they've said. My punishment is virtually irrelevant to the court of public opinion, which is what you're talking about. And I believe Alston and Bird did the right thing. They gave me a recommendation. I far exceeded their recommendation. And what I would say to the fan is, you have no reason to trust another white owner sitting here, me, CEO, sitting here, because the last ones have failed you. I hope you give us an opportunity. My intentions to come to this team were to do something great for our city. And don't punish the players.
This is what I said in the studio, and all the people here, Wanda will vouch for this, because I think that it goes to what you're saying. If there was a conference call of 12 African Americans about something business-wise, and someone said something disparaging about another race, I don't know if one of those African Americans would speak up and say, hey, that's not cool. That's not appropriate. I'm offended by that. So for Mr. Guerin on that call to say that and then to follow up with this is falling on this sword and is going to catch a lot of heat and backlash from a team that has always been known more for its ownership problems than its team problems. to me, that speaks volumes of what he, as an Atlanta native, feels about the team. Because it's a call that if nobody says anything, then we're not talking about this. I'm just amazed, and because I said if the circumstances were different, I don't know if anybody would come forward and say, you know what, y'all just said something about somebody white. I don't know. That's not good. You know, I'm still amazed that this has all even come out.
I don't know what his intentions are. I could never know. But that's what we're dealing with today. And I appreciate what you said. You know, unfortunately, things like this do happen. They usually don't happen on a platform as big as national sports. So I really appreciate you having me on today.
Well, I mean, you know, like I said, and I told my audience that you called me, you know, and I had Saint Falcons running through my veins. That's all I cared about. But to have someone, and I've told you this, to have someone of your caliber, and I told you that I met 3 CEOs in 1 week, and 2 of them brushed me off. I don't even think they heard anything I said. And I said, you listened, and I think that you are a professional listener. And I think that's why you were put here, whether it be by divine intervention or just by the fact that you're a huge Hawks fan and you love Atlanta. But I can say to the city that I am more confident that if anybody can make this be less painful and to make it be righted, it will be you. And I'm going to say that on my reputation for 20 years plus on the radio. This is very emotional for me. It's emotional for you. But I want you to try to get this fixed.
Well, first of all, thank you very, very much. You know, somebody said God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So you'd listen twice as much as talk. The only way we're going to get through this is by listening. The only way we're going to improve is by watching, improving, and doing the right thing. I'm committed to do that. But it's a partnership with the people, with the city, with the leadership, with people like yourself. So thank you for giving me the platform to talk to people that I can't stay up every night and email everybody. I mean, I am exhausted.
Well, we thank you for coming on. But
everybody deserves an answer. So whether by email or by radio, thank you for giving me the opportunity to answer the people. And I know you speak for a lot of folks.
Well, we appreciate it. We know that you're going to 92.9 The Game with Jamie Dukes and Rick Kamala next, so I'm sure the conversation will continue. Thank you so much to Ramona for allowing us to go over into her time slot. Thank you to the city for allowing me to talk about this. And I know that, like other things, we will get through this as well together.
Amen.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
All right. Steve on 3.
We're WVEE Atlanta.